We are rolling. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Edwin.
Yeah, you bet, Louis.
Taking time out of your busy schedule. And really, what I'm trying to do is just showcase different business owners in different trades and get them to kind of talk about their wins and their struggles and how what they're doing to dominate the industry that they're working in 2020. I know right now it's super relevant to kind of try and do the best we can with everything that's going on with the virus.
An extra hand right here popping up.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's the coolness of your background is making up for it for sure. Yeah, so in that context, just maybe tell us your name, your business, where you're working, how long you've just kind of introduce yourself there.
Sure. So my name's Edwin Ozuna. Name of my company, as you can see, right here.
Yeah.
As you can see right there, it's Nova Tree Care. We were established in 2013. Is that right? In 2013, I had 4.5 years on the field working for somebody else, and it's been a great experience. I mean, I didn't even back when I didn't know anything about trees. I actually hated it. I have a cousin who has tree work since I've known him.
Yeah.
And he went and did some trimming at my house, 12, 13 years ago. And so he had me climb. He did his thing and then he had me climb. And I mean, I think I probably went up about 15 feet to like a first branch.
Yeah.
And I was worn out. I was exhausted. I couldn't lift up the chainsaw to make the cut.
Wow.
So I had to come down and then he climbed and he cut it. And I hated it. I said to myself, I'm never going to do tree work. That's not for me. But then, like I said, so 2013 plus another 4.5 years, that puts us back around 2008.
Yeah.
When the recession was in full swing.
Yeah.
And he finally, caught up to what I was doing back then. So I started looking for a different job, and I ran into this guy, and he offered me a job, and on we went.
The rest is history from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to be able to climb the tree and use the saw while you're up there?
All right, so my first day of work with that guy, his name is Manny. So first day of work, we get to the job site, and I remember, now I know, it was poplar trees. Yeah. And it was like 6 of them that we were cutting around this gentleman's house. And so I look at the job site, and my cousin was working for him.
Yeah.
By the way, that's my son in the background.
Oh, that's fine.
So I look at the trees and I tell my cousin, I'm like, dude, we're going to be here all week. This is like, we're going to be here forever.
Yeah.
He laughs. He's like, no, we'll be out of here by tomorrow. And I'm like, there's no way. So my first task, they hand me a chainsaw. It was a 192. And he said, here, put gas and oil in it. And I'm like, okay. So I look at both caps and I'm like, crap, what do I do?
Which end is which?
Right. So owner's brother's walking by and I ask him, I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to put oil in this thing. Where is it? He's like, oh, you put oil here and gas here. I'm like, okay. So I did what he said, right? And when I did what he said, I kind of wiped it and I noticed that it has a little emblem on the plastic.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
no.
Oh no. I am. I mean, it's like 8 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, and I'm like, man, I'm so fired. I was like, I just ruined the chainsaw.
Yeah.
I go tell the boss, and I'm like, hey, I just, he told me, but it's my fault. I didn't know. He's like, oh, it's okay, just dump it over there. Dump it in the curve. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, just dump it and fill it the right way, and it'll smoke a little bit, but it'll be fine. So now, answering to your question, so I started doing groundwork, and then.
So you didn't have to climb those poplar trees that day?
No, thank God. I would have pooped on myself. No.
Yeah.
So I started doing groundwork, and he had me very quickly, in about a year or so, he had me helping him with, well, I built his website because I'm computer inclined, as you can
Yep.
tell.
Yep. I like it.
So I built his website and his SEO back in the day, got him on Google and all that stuff. So I started doing some managing for him. I started doing like emails and running stuff like that. So it really took me about a year and a half before I started like seeing about climbing any trees.
Right. Right.
And even at that point, he wouldn't. Once I started climbing and learning, and the reason why I started climbing is because he wanted me to go quote jobs, and it was kind of hard to go and bid on a job without really knowing
what you're going to find when you get up in the tree.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. So then, had you been working out during that time, or what were you doing? Were you kind of nervous for the first time, or?
So yeah, the first time I was obviously scared. It was one of those moments that, and I tell everybody that comes on board with working for me, you gotta trust that rope. I mean, that rope is rated, 15, 17, 18, 20,000 pounds. Trust me, you're not that heavy.
Yeah.
And then I tell them, because even at that point, when it's your first time, you're really scared. And I'm like, dude, we pulled our chip truck out of the mud with that rope. Well, not that particular rope, but just to give them a sense.
Same style of rope. Yeah.
Just to give them a sense of what it can do. So, the first time I was really scared at, holding on to the rope and not wanting to let go, because for some reason you end up feeling safer if you're holding on to it or grabbing on the wrench. But because if it's your first time, you're like really grabbing, like you're gripping to it.
Yeah.
And you end up really, really tired.
That's fair. So the idea is the best thing is to just lean back and let the rope do the work.
And it took me probably, I want to say it took me about a month. I mean, and this is not on a everyday basis, every now and then he'd let me climb.
Yeah.
But it all changed when his regular climber went up with me.
Yeah.
That's when it really changed. He's like, let go, like, lean up on your rope and let go and start doing little jumps from one branch to another.
Yeah.
And then you start treating it like a swing. And he never said this, but this is what I picture. I'm like, well, when you're a kid or a young adult, you go to the park and you sit on that swing and you trust it with your life. I mean, you're over there just swinging and swinging.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the same concept. Once you start trusting it, you're good to go.
That's awesome. That's cool. So by like 2011 or so, you were climbing around the trees, and then were you doing that kind of full time, or were you still doing the back end stuff?
Actually, once I learned how to climb, so I worked for him for 4.5 years. So 2008, 9, 10, or mid 10, really early 11s maybe.
Yeah.
I already knew how to climb. He even pushed me. He was starting to push me to get my own gear.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, no, I'm okay. So he made me buy gear. We went to our local Vermeer shop.
Yeah.
And we got myself a saddle and
Nice.
rope and spikes and everything, and he paid for it. And then he started just taking it out of my paycheck.
Nice.
Which now I think it was great.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't really let me climb constantly. At that point, I was actually running the cruise for him.
Gotcha.
I remember when I was working for him 2.5 years, which would put us around 2011. His family wanted to go on vacation to Disney, and he was, going back and forth with me, and I got him the tickets and everything. And he was like, well, if you need anything, just call me, I'll be on the phone. And I'm like, dude, you're going to leave me your phone. And you're going to get out of my way.
Yeah.
So he went the whole week, and I actually ran the whole company for a whole week. I did all the estimates, did the payroll. I bought the gas that needed to be bought, whatever, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when he came back, he was pretty surprised that I actually was able to do the whole thing like completely by myself.
Hmm.
And at that point is when he started saying, because we live about 45 to an hour minutes apart.
Okay.
He started saying, you need to start doing your own thing. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'm, making good money here and whatnot.
Yeah.
He said, you're too good now. You're not gonna get. There's no other
You
level.
reached a ceiling, basically.
Yeah, and he essentially said, because him and his brother were partners. He said, I can't make you a partner because I have my brother as partner.
Right.
But you've reached the highest level of possible. So the best thing is that you start doing your own thing, and we go our separate ways.
That was kind of going to be my next question: is did you leave on good terms? So I mean, that's the best case scenario, really, for your boss to realize the potential and.
There's a but right there.
Okay.
So I refused when he offered that. I actually declined the offer, and I started. I told him no, and he said we went and bought a new chipper, brand new.
Yeah.
And his business was starting to boom because I got him. He was doing a lot of residential stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and wherever and whenever you share this, and I'm sure a bunch of tree guys already know this. You can be busy by doing just residential, but once you start getting in touch with realtors and it's just like a chain reaction,
Sure, you get that many more people feeding the pipeline.
Yeah, so I got him contracts with realtors and with guys that would flip houses and would do some, just view clearing. And so his business was booming, and he offered me his chipper, the one that he had.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'll sell it to you. And I was like, how much? He's like, give me $4,000. Back in the day, it was a woodchuck. And I was like, no, I don't have $4,000. And he's like, we'll do it the same way as we did your equipment. I'll just take $100 out of each paycheck.
Yeah.
I was like, nah. I was like, do you really want to sell it? I'll post it and I'll sell it. Back then it was Craigslist. There was no marketplace or anything like that.
Sure.
But he's like, yeah, sell it. So I posted it. And when I asked him how much you want for it, he's like, post it for $8,000. I was like, okay. You're selling it to me for $4,000, but you want $8,000. I'm like, okay. So I posted the chipper, and we sold it. A guy from New York came all the way down to North Carolina and picked it up. And when he got confirmation that the guy was coming, he offered it again. He's like, are you sure you don't want it? And I was like, nah, I'm okay. So he sold it and for $8,000. And then I kept running the crews for him. We got to a really good system to where, say, 1 week, I would be doing all the estimates and he'd be on the job site with the guys.
Okay.
And the next week, because I knew all the estimates and all the clients and all the job sites, I'd stay on the job site and then he'll be doing the estimates.
Oh, nice. You kind of tag team, and that way the client always sees the same person.
The same person in charge. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but we started arguing too much. He's greatest friend, not the greatest boss to have around. I mean,
okay.
And this is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
He would rush on the jobs. He would, load the truck to its max. I mean, we would lose logs. Have you ever been on the highway and you see just a random piece of wood? Well, we actually had that happen several times because we would load it to the max, and I'd be against.
Which is pretty scary for like people driving down the road.
Oh, yeah, of course. So when I finally quit, we were doing a fence job, and it was one of my jobs. So I quoted, I did the whole thing, and he just showed up at the job site, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And I was like, "Well, we're doing the fence." And he's like, "Well, that's not how you do a fence." I'm like, "Just hold up." I asked the lady how she wanted the fence, and that's exactly what she wants. We were halfway done, and so he calls everybody, and he's like, "Well, I'm the one who writes the check, so if anybody doesn't like that, you can just hit the road." And I was like, "Well, I guess that's for me, so I'm just gonna hit the road." And
Wow.
so I was wrapping up and leaving, and so he tells the guys to start taking the fence out because that's not how he wants it. And then the lady sees that we're taking the fence out, and she comes to the front door because she sees me at the front. She's like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" I'm like, "Well, ma'am, that's Manny. That's the boss man, and you know." And she's like, "But the fence was great." So she goes and talks to him, and they get into an argument. And that's the type of guy that he is. He would argue
Right.
with customers.
That's not a great. Yeah.
He gets to the argument, and next thing you know, he stops the job again, and they're putting it back to the way that it was at the beginning. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
So I left that day. I left, and that night he called me. He was like, "Hey, I know that we were upset and this and that." And I'm like, "Look, dude, I just think I don't think I don't think it's gonna work."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I quit in somewhat decent terms.
Yeah.
We did make a deal that he wouldn't come to my town and I wouldn't go to his town.
Right.
First reason is it's too far. It's just too much overhead to travel that far.
Yeah.
Or at least we think so anyways. And so we was decent terms until website issues came about a year later.
Okay.
Because I created the website and I was working for him, so everything was fine.
Yeah.
I paid fees, and he'll pay me.
Yeah.
And so when I quit, we actually went to a bar because we used to go to the bar a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You were good friends.
Yeah, like I said, he's a great friend.
Yeah.
And so we went to the bar, and I gave him all the info, and I was like, "Dude, you just gotta call them, and I already gave them authorization. They've got your name pending, and you just transfer it to your name, and that's it."
Yeah.
And that was the end of it. But then a year later, I noticed a charge on my account, and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" So I call, and it's for his website, and I'm like, "Oh man." So I call him, and I'm like, "Dude, you forgot, or what happened?" He's like, "Oh no, I just don't have time for that shit." I'm like, "Well, they're charging me for it, and not only that particular account, I don't keep money there, so it went in negatives, and now I owe the bank money."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, that's your fault." I'm like, come on. I mean, just pay me the fees, pay me what they collected, and I'll do the switch. We'll get together and I'll do the switch now that I have
We'll
time.
get a clean break there.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, I don't need it. I don't care. I don't need that website. So you do whatever you want. I don't care." And I'm like, "Dude, don't do that."
Yeah.
So he tried to screw me that way, and it was very easy for me. I just redirected. If you went to his website, I would make it to where you see a message that says you are now being redirected to my website.
Yeah.
And so I actually got a few jobs out of that.
Yeah.
He finally realized that. He got so pissed.
Yeah.
And he hired an attorney, and he threatened me. And I was like, "Well, the website's in my name. I've got proof that I own it. I've got proof that you don't
But you're
want
paying for it and all that stuff.
And so we ended up on an agreement. So he ended up paying me like $800,
Okay.
but not for me to sell the website to him, for me to cancel it.
Okay.
And that was the last time. And ever since, I run into him every now and then, and sometimes he'll wave, sometimes he just
Depends on the day.
Me. But if I see him, like if I'm the one that makes eye contact, I'll be like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And
Yeah.
But it wasn't the greatest.
Yeah,
Again,
I definitely take back what I said earlier.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
no,
could have been, but it wasn't.
yeah. Well, that's rough. That's rough. But then, so you left in 2013. Did you start up right away? What was the transition there?
Yes, and that's another thing, and that's a very important thing that I've actually addressed in my own company. So when I was working for him, I told him from the get go, since I started noticing that I was doing more and more estimates.
Mm-hmm.
I was like I said, him and his brother were partners, so they both had a company phone. They only advertised with one number, which was his.
Okay.
And I think that's very smart.
Yeah.
His brother was more of a maintenance guy kind of thing. He would go out and work.
Yeah.
He was more maintenance than brains.
Yeah.
So I'd be doing estimates, and I told him, I said, look, I think I need a company cell phone, or I don't want to be mean, but take your brother's phone away and give it to me.
Yeah.
He's like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, dude, if I ever leave, I don't want your customers to call me.
Right. Right.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So I quit on a, I think I quit on a, what was it, Wednesday? Yeah, I think I quit on a Wednesday, and customer calls me. She's a realtor, and she says, hey, Edwin, I need you to do me an estimate. And I'm like, sorry, you're going to have to call Manny because I don't work for him anymore.
Yeah.
And she literally said, well, you know I don't like him. You know he doesn't like me.
Yeah.
She's like, the only reason why we do business is because of you. I was like, well, I don't know what to say because I don't work there.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, don't you have your own gear? Why don't you start? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't have everything that I would need.
Yeah.
She said, well, just come give me an estimate and let's see what we can do. So I went out and I gave her an estimate. And I remember I quoted her $700 for the whole job.
Was
And
it just like was it just topping a tree or taking a tree down by the house, or
a bunch of trim up so that you could see the house once they renovated it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I quoted 700, and she's like, "Well, the estimate is great as usual. I'm gonna give you 1,000." And I was like, "There's a buck coming, and I know it." She's like,
But you have to do it.
She's like, you need to bring me your insurance.
Okay.
And I'm like, Megan, you know I don't have it. And she's like, I know you don't have it, but that extra money that I'm giving you could be your down payment. So, you know, if you get it, now I'll keep you until Friday for you to let me know whether you're taking it or not. If not, I'll just call somebody else.
Yeah.
So I talked it over to my now wife, and I did it. You know, I went and bought insurance, put down payment on it, and did the job. And once we did the job, I was like, well, now I know next month I got to make a payment for my insurance.
Right, right.
So there's no going back now. And here we are almost 7 years later.
So you got forced into the business then?
Pretty much.
Yeah, both times.
Yes. Once
Yeah.
for a recession, one, and the second time for a customer.
That's crazy. That's so, I mean, do you still, like, you must still love it if you're still doing it, or?
Absolutely. I'm a Christian man, and I play for church.
Yep.
And I was very happy with what I was doing prior to doing tree work.
Yeah.
And even though I wasn't that close to church and religion and all that stuff, I've always had it in the back of my head. So I told God that if He wanted me to do a change, I'll do it. And then I started doing tree work. And now I'm like, well, I'm very happy with what I'm doing. And
yeah.
I don't see myself doing anything else. But if He wants me to do anything else, then I'm open for it. I'll do it.
Right.
I hope He puts me to play and sing for a bunch of people. I'd love to do that.
That's your big dream.
Yeah, for Him though, for church.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I'm past the point where I want to, stadiums and all that.
Right, but you want to play to big rallies, Hillsong or something like that. Yeah, That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So you started in 2013. You're kind of shoved into the business by this realtor who wanted you to do. I'm assuming you still work for her.
Yes. Well, actually, she kind of went away from. Now they buy complete lots, and they do it in a different way.
Sure.
But until this day, I get people that would call me and they say, "Hey, I got your number from Megan," and I automatically, that's the only Megan I know. So I'm like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I still get business from her, and I have her on Facebook. We chat every now and then.
That's awesome. That's good. So things start up. You kind of get going. What did you use to get business? I mean, you had that insurance bill that was coming up. I'm sure you had some other overhead. What did you do for tools?
For tools. So like I tell my customers and everybody that works with me, I'm not ashamed to say how I started. I started out of a 2002 Nissan Sentra.
Nice.
And I would put all my chainsaws, rope, blower, the rake, through the trunk all the way to the front, the pole pruner things. Um, and so I've always wanted to do business the right way, but like I said, I was forced into it, kind of.
Yeah.
So I had to, sometimes when the job was big enough, well, I would always ask my cousin to let me borrow his truck, and then I would borrow a trailer, and I
Yeah.
would go do it that way.
Yeah. So you'd kind
Uh,
of subcontract, or you'd kind of rent the equipment basically to get the job done.
Essentially.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it wouldn't be a Bradford bear. Sometimes it would be a nice size oak that I knew it would be better if I had a chipper
Yeah.
to do it with. So I would throw a little lie to my customers. I'd say, well, I can do it, just to say a number. I'd be like, well, I can do the tree for, $1,600. But my truck's at the shop right now because they're changing the clutch, and so I can do it for 13 if I cut it all up and put it by the curve, and then the seals just.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that would work.
Yeah.
And they will hire me and have me put it by the curve. But sometimes it wouldn't work, and they'll say, "Oh, I'll just, how long till you get your truck back?" And I'll say, "Oh, probably about a week or so." "Oh, yeah, I'll wait." I'm forced to rent a truck and a chipper,
Right.
make the job a lot easier. But I continued to rent and rent and rent enough to where finally I told the guy, I was like, "Dude, I'm bringing you, $1,500 a week. Why don't you just sell me the truck?"
Yeah.
And he ended up selling me the truck, I think, for like 4,000. So,
Wow. That paid off pretty quick.
oh yeah, it was a really old, beat up truck that, oddly enough, so the guy that sold it to me bought it from my former boss.
Nice.
So I knew the truck. That's why I rented that truck, because I knew the truck. I knew how well taken care of it was.
Right. Right. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think it took me about 8 months until I bought the truck, and that's the first investment I did. I bought the truck and rented chippers, and then eventually I got my hands on my first chipper.
Nice. Nice. So that's kind of the story with the equipment, but you're kind of stuck with this one job. And what did you use to get jobs coming in to pay the insurance cost for the next month and the months after that? Did you panic a little, or?
No, I didn't, because I had managed the company for my former boss, so
Sure.
I already had a background on sort of how the finances of business work.
Yeah.
Um, no, I mean, I ever since the start, I already knew how much I needed to charge, how much it was going to take for me to complete the job, how many people I would need to bring, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
So
uh,
how did you get the jobs to fill your pipeline? Like how did you get the word out in those first couple months?
in the first couple months, it was really tough. There were several times where I just wanted to drop the towel and be like, okay, I need to look for a job.
Yeah.
I'm glad I never did, because I would probably still be working for somebody else.
Yeah.
I tend to devote myself to whomever I'm working for.
Yeah.
And but I'm like I said, I'm glad I didn't. And at the beginning, it was tough. I would ask colleagues, and they would always tell you, "Oh, you just the word of mouth is the best."
Yeah.
And yes, it is once you're somewhat established. But when you're the new guy, you really got to go out there. So I tried several things. I never opened a mailbox, because I know that's a federal crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd go out and I'd put business cards on the mailbox or on the little hole underneath the mailbox.
Yeah.
Um, and I noticed that didn't quite work out. I did some research on YouTube, how to advertise for starters.
Yeah.
And this actually got me a bunch of business. So I actually printed out postcards instead of business cards.
Yeah.
I printed out postcards, and I went to my local Food Lion, which is a smaller than Walmart. I don't know if you have Food Lion where you are.
No, I'm in Canada, so we're a little bit different
Oh,
branding
wow.
up here, but yeah,
But smaller than Walmart.
yeah,
So they sell these sandwich bags.
okay,
You pay like $1.50, and it has like 50 bags.
okay,
So I put the thing there, and then I'd go to my Lowe's, which is a home improvement store,
yeah,
and buy me a bag of rocks,
okay.
just rocks, and I'd put like 2 or 3 rocks on each bag, and I'd make me a box of that thing. Then I'll just go out the neighborhoods and roll my passenger window down, and just start throwing it on the driveways.
Like the newspaper man, you're just throwing the flyers. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it.
and the thing, because of the rock, it would land and stand, kind of like would stand up
Yeah,
on its own. I would throw it towards the mailbox more than in the middle of the driveway.
sure, sure.
Uh, and that got me a bunch of business. A bunch of people got pissed off at me too.
Did
Um,
they call you up and tell you don't? Well, like, what are you doing throwing stuff in my drink?
Absolutely, yes. And like when I was doing it, if I see somebody like, watering their flowers or whatnot, I would actually stop and hand it to them and say,
Sure.
hey, I'm passing flyers out, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I got, the one or two that would say, well, I didn't call you, so I don't want you. You get off my property. And I was sorry, sir. And then just move.
Right. Right.
I got one guy that he said he was going to call the cops on me for littering. And I was like, I hope you don't, but,
Yeah.
uh, that's how I got myself out there. And that got me some business. And like I said, the key is it's like a chain reaction. So I did a few jobs for a few people, and then those same guys would say, well, I actually work for this company and I'm the maintenance guy there, and I'd love for you to go quote it there.
Right.
And I got bigger jobs. And then once you're working on a commercial job site, like the managers would be like, well, who's that guy?
And then they kind of keep you in the back of their mind for when they need something again. Yeah. So
And
the hard, like, kind of getting the ball rolling was the hardest part.
it was. And then the ball started rolling. However, I did sign up with Angie's List,
Yep.
and to get some advertising done. And a bunch of my friends and old co-workers from my previous boss, they would ask me, and they would say, why don't you call those guys that you signed many up with? And I was like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Karma will eventually get to me, and
Yeah.
I don't want that. So I see them guys, and I say hi to them, but I've never try to underbid him or try to go behind his back.
Right.
I feel that'd be wrong.
Right. How did Angie's List work for you?
So it's an on and off thing. Angie's List at the beginning, it was great. I feel like it's a little bit expensive.
Okay.
But people say that you gotta invest money in order for you to make money.
Sure.
So in my local area, there's a lake nearby,
Hmm.
and obviously all those houses by the lake, they're really expensive, and super rich people and stuff like NASCAR people, basketball people would live there.
Yeah.
And so that was my target area, that more than my local town.
Sure.
So Angie's List offered this package to where you would offer a deal, and you pretty much sold your company for a day. So 3 guys, chipper in a truck for 8 hours.
Okay.
Was like they sell it to the customer. They sold it to the customer for like $1,500,
Yep.
but would only pay me like $1,200.
Okay.
And I know that's really low. That's cutting it really, really close for margins.
Yeah.
Especially if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
But the reason why I went with it is because it's not that you have to cut that huge oak tree
Yeah.
in one day. It's you do what you can in 8 hours.
Right. And then maybe you come back.
So I would always, sometimes the customer would just go and purchase the coupon. Sometimes they would call before they purchase the coupon. On either scenario, I always make contact with customer and say, hey, I know you got the coupon, or I know you're interested in the coupon. I'd love to go and meet with you and see what you want done, just to make sure that you get what you really want.
Right. Right.
So a lot of times I'd go and it'd be, a Bradford pear. And I would tell the old lady, ma'am, I can get this. I don't want to stab Angie's List in the back, but I can get this Bradford pear cut down and hauled away for 800,
Right.
and I'll be in and out in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd always be honest with the customer, or sometimes, you know, it'd be a huge oak, and they'll be like, "Well, I want you to cut it down and haul it away." I'm like, "That's not gonna happen."
Right.
So I'd be like, "Well, we need more equipment, like a mini loader, or you know, different routes." And sometimes they would just buy the coupon like 3 times, and I'd be like, "Okay, if you want to do it like that, that's fine."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but then Angie's Lee stopped doing those deals, and they started doing something else, and it's been a weird scenario. I'm still signed up with them.
Yeah.
They changed their sales reps on you without.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard mixed things from them. Like some people love them. Some people hate them and will never ever work with anything like that again. Yeah. No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, you were there.
I'm sorry.
Totally fine. Totally fine. This is very informal, so don't worry about it.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I've heard mixed reviews about Angie's List, so that's why I kind of always ask people about it. So no, that's interesting.
In general terms, I like it.
Yeah.
There was a season that I was like, you know what, I'm done, because I'm not getting calls from that area that I was really targeting.
Yeah.
They went up on the price. They went up on the price.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, sign me out. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. Nothing changed in the first 2 or 3 months. But then I started noticing that I would really get less and less and less calls. And I was like, why is this happening? I checked my online presence, and it was still good. But it actually turns out they contacted me again, and they offer another package and whatnot. And they told me that Angie's List pays a bunch of money to SEO engines, Google, Yahoo, and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that actually makes sure that I'm bumped up on their
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, really? I'm like, but I've got my SEO up to
Yeah.
date. And they're like, yeah, you can have that, but because we're a bigger company, she's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, you're doing great, blah, blah, blah. But we're worldwide. Believe me, Google would listen to us a little more than they would listen to you.
Right.
Because we paid them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that makes sense. So I signed up again, and sure enough, it took about another 2 months, and I started getting that volume of calls.
Interesting.
Because I would always ask the customer when they call me, and I go meet with them. Once I meet with the customer, I'd be like, how did you hear from me? And they would say, oh, Angie's List, or oh, Google, or so-and-so told me about you.
Yeah.
You know, or I saw your website on Facebook popped up, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I realized that Angie's List does help in the background of Google.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd love to chat with you more about that off air as well. Just kind of learn a bit more about that too, just so that to inform myself when I talk to other contractors as well. That's very interesting. Yeah. Cool. So you're kind of figuring out, like, you kind of get through that first couple months there, and start getting jobs coming in, and then you're here now. Looking back, what would you do differently?
I would have bought the chipper from my former boss.
And just gone right in and started from there.
Absolutely. I really have no regrets. Like I said, I'm a man of God, and I've always been very honest with my customers. I've never cut a tree when the lady or the guy thinks that the tree is dying. I've never cut a tree just to put money in my pockets.
Right.
I've gotten several calls where they say, well, I think my tree is dying. And I go and I look at it, and I'm like, no, ma'am. It's just, it's not bloomed yet, or this is happening to it.
Right.
We can trim this part, or whatever it's the scenario may be.
Yeah.
And I think that's paid off really well.
Kind of people talk about you in a way that, speaks well of you, and they're going to refer you because you're not going to rip people off.
Right. Yes. I had a customer, I remember it dearly. I've actually had 3 customers to this day, but the customer number 2 is the one that said it. So I went out to quote his job. It was a pretty large tree, and I quoted him. I think it was like 4,000 for
Yeah.
the tree.
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you insured?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." "Is your business registered?" And I said, "Yes, sir, it is." And I always carry my insurance certificate. And I
Sure.
was like, "I can show it to you." He's like, "Oh, it's okay." And he's like, "Are you not trying to be rich?" And I laughed, and I was like, "Why?" He's like, "I've gotten several quotes for this tree,
Yeah.
and every single quote is like 8,000, 7,000,
Wow.
and you show up and say 4,000." And I said, "Well, yes, I'm trying to be rich. It's just not gonna be next week.
Right.
It's gonna take me a little longer, but I'm gonna make a bunch of friends along the way." He shook my hand and he said, "The job is yours."
Nice.
So,
Nice.
I mean, it is a great business to be in. There's a lot of money to be made. I just really hate when, perhaps with those Angeles deals, I could have said yes to that lady, buy the deal,
Hmm.
and I'd go and cut that brass repair in 3 hours, and you know, and then be like, "Well, is there anything else? No? Okay, well then see ya,"
Right.
and made more money. And I just feel like ripping people
You got to
off.
sleep at night, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
very,
that's the important thing.
very comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, you're not thinking about, oh, well, like, is he going to come back and bite me? Right.
Right, never
Yeah.
have.
Oh, that's awesome. That's excellent. So, I mean, that kind of leads into what would you tell other people getting into the business? Like, what would you kind of give them as tips or suggestions?
Do it right. Basically the same thing. Do it right. I have so that cousin that I told you, right?
Yeah.
Last year, he had a job and he got into an argument with his job boss and he quit. And he called me. He asked me for a job, and I told him, I was like, "Dude, ever since I've known you, you've been in this line of work, and there's no reason why you should be asking me for a
Right.
job. I think it
Right.
should be the other way around."
Yeah.
Um, so I advised him. I was like, "Dude, if you have the money, buy you a little truck. That's the first thing you need to buy, a little truck. You can always rent it cheaper from me, from anybody. It's really hard to rent a truck.
Yeah.
It's somewhat easier to buy rent a cheaper. Don't rip people off. Don't get greedy. Um, treat your help the way you'd always want it to be treated.
Yeah.
Be fair. Um, you know, I give when Christmas time comes around, I give bonuses.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's too much or too little, but I try to make it to where they'll be happy.
Yeah.
My former boss gave the crew $50 as a Christmas bonus, and he gave me 100 because I was his right hand.
Yeah.
Everybody was pissed. Everybody wanted to quit on Christmas
Right.
time.
Right.
Uh, I give my guys, I think I gave them 400 less, or
Nice.
it may have been 500 because I think we just grabbed like 1,500 and we just split it evenly.
Yeah.
Regardless whether the climber, makes more money on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We did it even. We had a Christmas dinner,
Nice.
and more than the money, I just wanted the friendship. We're an awesome crew, and that's what I would advise anybody that's trying to get in the business or any other business for that matter. I don't like to be called the boss.
Right.
I think that when we're on a job site, we're all in charge, really.
Yeah.
And don't ever think of yourself higher than anybody else, because and I tell them, because people have asked me before, and I tell them the same story. I'm like, "Dude, my first day on the job, I put gas in the oil in the gas."
Yeah.
I really did. And I mean, I'm not scared to say it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, stay humble, stay appreciative of your workers and your customers. No, I like it. I
That's
like
the
it.
most important asset that I have. Like right now with this whole coronavirus thing, so we have restrictions here in North Carolina. A bunch of my colleagues, they use the blanket that say, well, we're essential
Right.
because tree companies may have a contract with line clearance, and but you don't. I don't. So we're not really essential unless the tree fell down. Then we become essential for
Right.
that.
For sort of emergency situations.
Right, but they're out there money hungry, like going doing little trims, and I'm like, dude. I mean, even though I don't personally believe in the virus part, and that's just my personal opinion,
Yeah.
the chaos around it is real.
Yeah.
That's very real.
Yeah.
And the more we don't listen, the longer it's gonna take, and the tougher it's gonna get.
Right. Right.
And why should we push it that way? So I'm like, I told my guys, I said, look, guys, this whole coronavirus thing is putting a stop to us. Some customers cancel. Some customers are actually, rushing us to get there. And but I asked them, I was like, how do you feel about going out and working? And the first week they were like, well, I don't know. They don't have to necessarily share my view on the virus thing.
Right. Right.
I respect them, and I'm like, well, we're gonna hold off for a week. I talked it over with my wife. So to my ground guys, I actually send them $200. I was like, buy your food, buy your supplies, whatever you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Once we get back to working, we can start taking, I don't know, $50 or whatever. I mean, I feel that if I've been blessed by running this business and providing a job for some people and helping people, as a homeowners, why not share it?
Right.
Like you said, stay humble.
Yep.
I did get to the greedy point at one point. I started, thinking, well, I own a tree company, and I've changed that. I just run it.
Right.
The guy above me really owns it, and if he decides that he doesn't want me to be a tree man anymore, then I won't be.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Because I have too much overhead now, but
Right.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you kind of walking through the story, and I think that I think other people will appreciate listening in and kind of seeing what's worked for you and what hasn't. Um, if unless you have something else, I'll basically stop the recording, then we can chat a little bit after off air. If you're good with that.
For all of you guys out there, like we've mentioned before, stay humble. Keep your feet on the ground unless you're going up on a tree. If your gut tells you not to do it, and that has happened a few times with my climber. Now I have a full-time climber.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I'm not gonna say his name so you don't steal him from me.
Yeah. No, that's all good.
But when I go quote a job, I look at the job, I look at the tree, and I think how I would do it because I used to climb.
Yeah.
But when we get to the job site, and I tell that to my customers, but once we get here, me and the climber would go and look at it, and once we get set up, he may say, no, I'm not gonna swing that branch. I'm gonna go all the way to the top and cut it piece by piece.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna happen. Because that's his word that's his life on the line, not
Right.
mine. I'm on the ground.
Right.
And we've done a few removals where the tree is like literally falling apart. Like we toss the throw line, and as we're feeding the rope, pieces of it breaks. And I've told them, is it a go, or is it a go home? And there's been 2 times that he said, no, I don't want to climb this.
Yeah.
We wrap up and we go home, and I tell the customer, hey, sir, so sorry, but I'd bring a bucket, or we'll figure something out, but I'm not. And we call it a day. So
yeah.
I've never put any of my guys' life on the line in order for me to make money. And I think that's helped me to where they remain loyal to me.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest part of my business is really my help, my guys.
I love it. I love it. No, I appreciate it. I think that's I think those are some good words and some gold nuggets to kind of end off on. I appreciate it. Well, thanks for coming on, Edwin. I'll share this around. I'll tag you in this. We'll kind of spread the word. You can share it around. But I appreciate your time and look forward to chatting. If you want to stay on the air here quickly, right after. Oh, there we go.
I was
Hi.
looking, Jay, where is he? There he is.
Hi.
Hi. It's okay.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna stop the recording here, and then we'll continue talking just briefly.
Yeah.
Thank you.